So I had this panic attack and I thought I was dying. So I go to my teacher and I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, I'm so scared. And he's like, well, if you do, we'll call 911. This is back in Toronto. I was living in Toronto at the time. He's like, Mimi, you cannot run away from yourself. It's a panic attack, most likely. Like, now go back into meditation and sit through it and watch it. Any emotional reaction is like a storm. Like, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And oftentimes we create suffering by attaching meaning to our pain or to our suffering. For example, if you have a panic attack, you might think, I am dying. Like, I'm going to die, or this is a heart attack. Or if we have a stomach pain, we might think it's an ulcer or it's a cancer, right? Like, the mind goes crazy, and that's kind of what meditation can help. Because the mind is really good at doing that. It's the monkey mind that runs the show for most of us, right? And meditation can help you to calm the monkey mind so you can get to the core, which is the awareness that's observing the mind.
Namaste. Hello. Welcome to another episode of For Soul's Sake, a conversation in which we bring you guests from around the world, from different industries, from different places of wellness, to talk about honest and candid spirituality, all things wellness, all things that will hopefully help you to grow, to transform, to aid your journey of life. We're joined today by an icon. No pun intended. Mimi Ikonn is here with us. She's a true luminary and a beacon of wisdom, has touched the lives of millions around the globe, from humble beginnings in Azerbaijan to an extraordinary journey which has developed her as a successful entrepreneur and renowned speaker. Her list of accomplishments are nothing short of remarkable. As a co-founder of Intelligent Change, she has created a forward-thinking organization focused on empowering her community through innovative tools to cultivate personal growth and drive positive change. Mimi also recognized the profound impact that a few minutes of intentional reflection and gratitude can have on our well-being. Mimi, thank you so much for being here.
What a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
It's written by the team, so I can't take the credit, but amazing accomplishments, and it's really incredible what you've really, alongside your husband, I know, put together this community, this amazing community of intelligent change makers. I want to dive straight in and ask you about intelligent change, because I know you had a summit earlier this year. Tell me a little bit about it. Tell me about what happened there and what your dream and vision for the future is with it.
Thank you. So Intelligent Change was founded almost 10 years ago by Alex and I, and it was literally just a side project that we had for fun, because we had a different business before called Luxy Hair, and Luxy Hair was the bread and butter. It's like everything we focused on, and then it was the something funny and interesting, I guess, that I have to mention, that with the Luxy Hair, it was a 4-hour work week inspired business. So for us, the most important thing when we started the business, we wanted to have a business that allows us freedom to do what we do when we want to do it, and to be able to travel at the same time. And we were able to accomplish that with our first business. And you can ask me more questions if you're interested about that, but I won't go into that one. But then somebody read the book, a mutual friend, the 4-hour work week, and he said to our mutual friend, I want to find out if anybody is actually doing the 4-hour work week.
4-hour work week?
Yeah, like literally we were
Whoa.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah.
Big inspiration, thanks to Timothy Ferris.
Wow.
And then the mutual friend connected us, because we were doing that with Luxy Hair, and he's like, you should talk to Alex and Mimi. And then we became friends. This is our old co-founder. His name is Ujay Ramdas. And Ujay wanted to start a business. And we said, listen, Ujay, any business you're going to start, you have to do something that makes you happy. Because all businesses are going to be hard. They're going to come with challenges. So if you do something that you enjoy and you love, it's going to feel easier because you care about what it is that you're doing. So then we collectively were thinking of ideas of what it is that we can bring together, just as an example for him of how he can create this for himself. But, you know, because we were helping him on this journey, we became his partners. And that's how 5-Minute Journal was born now 10 years ago. We printed, I think, 1,000 copies at first. And we thought, if this goes nowhere, we're just going to gift our friends these journals for the rest of our lives. But it took off. And, you know, eventually, actually, that partnership ended. We ended up buying UJ out of the business because the business grew so much that it was no longer a 4-hour work week. And he wanted to still have that freedom and lifestyle that he enjoyed. But Alex and I saw a huge potential that people are looking for meaning, significance, purpose. And we at Intelligent Change, this is what we create. We create these tools that can help people self-actualize on their journey in life. And simple tools that anybody can use in 5 minutes a day. 5-minute journal is just one of the products. We also have productivity planners. We have games now. We have affirmations. So now, obviously, experience as well, because you asked me about the summit. For us, what we realize now is that where people are lacking is communities.
Totally.
This is what you do really well here in London. And, before people used to practice religion, and some still do, but a lot of people who find themselves in that world of spirituality, they don't have a place to go and connect with like-minded people. So what we want to do, eventually also want to create physical space in like big cities in the world, but we just want to start small at first. And we had this idea for years. First, we wanted to attend an event like that, not an event where you're learning about entrepreneurship, because that's a big interest of ours, obviously, because that's what we do, but also how to do entrepreneurship in a sustainable way, in a mindful way, in a conscious way, and connect with other human beings and also learn more about other things. And there's a lot of events there that are focused just on spirituality or mindfulness or business and entrepreneurship. So we kind of merge the two together. That's because that's who we are and how we do things. And that's how our first Intelligent Change Summit was created. I was just sharing, before we started recording, I was sharing the story with you how, Alex and I, we visited this beautiful hotel in Ibiza in Six Senses last May. And we just fell in love. It's like such a beautiful hotel and location. It's so peaceful, but also Six Senses as a hotel, their ethos is all about sustainability, and it's very much resonates with how we do things at Intelligent Change. So we fell in love with the place, and we knew right away we need to do something there. And then, we asked them all the questions and realized that, it's a huge undertaking because it's an expensive project to close the whole hotel and do an event when you have zero experience in that, because we've done products. So far, everything we've done is products online, virtually. So that's what we have experience with in content creation, but never physical events. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to get out of your comfort zone and try new things. That's how you learn. And that was something that was very exciting for us. But we signed the papers in December 2022 and had literally 4 months, because the event was scheduled for April 27th. It was a 3-day event. And then we went to Cape Town, actually, for a 2-week holiday.
Oh.
So we couldn't do much for those 2 weeks. But then literally we had 3 months and 2 weeks to put the program together, find speakers, and sell 180 tickets, for people to come to this event.
For those that don't know about Intelligent Change Summit, it was incredible the amount of change makers you had, people from different industries, people that were really looking for community, that were also looking for freedom. I think this is the new wealthy. The new wealthy isn't zeros in a bank account, it's the amount of time that you're free to act in the world as you wish. And so I think that when I saw that online, I didn't attend personally, I'm coming next year, but when I saw that online, I was so amazed by the community that you brought together, and that you speak so openly about the sustainability of it all. And I saw that online. You actually even speak about fast fashion. You talk about sustainability in that industry as well. And that's something that I'm quite strong on. Like, I try and buy clothing that is going to last me a long period of time, that has maybe even a cause behind it. Like, for example, the jumper I'm wearing today, I chose it purposely because it's a temple in New York City, Broome Street. Shout out Eddie Stern. And he sells all of his merch that helps run the temple. So it's all
Amazing.
So all the things I try to buy and wear is either long-term or sustainable or helping a project. I wanted to hear your thoughts on how to create sustainability, both in the world of fashion, but also in the world of, I don't know if you have further thoughts on sustainability in general.
Well, first of all, sustainability starts with you, right? Your personal decisions in life. And for me, this has been a long journey. And as a human being, you realize that everything we do has an environmental impact. And it's going to be impossible to have no impact. Because as we walk, we are stepping on ants or, killing a spider by accident. And then we eat something that has an impact. And then we have to wear clothes because it's cold or it's warm. We have to cover ourselves. So, and then we travel and we do all these things that all have an impact. And at first, when I realized that as a human, I have an impact, because a lot of people are living in denial. They're just not aware. And that's okay. They say ignorance is bliss. Truly is. But once you're no longer ignorant and you are aware, and that's the opposite of ignorance, you cannot unsee the things that you have seen. And sometimes you go through this transition where you are really anxious and you don't know what to do. You're overwhelmed. So I went through that transition myself where I realized I'm the problem, but I didn't create this world. Like, how can I change everything alone? And you can't, right? So it's about then looking at yourself and saying, okay, I cannot be perfect. So let me never try to even go there. Like, perfection is unattainable. How about some small steps? Because doing something is better than not doing anything. And I think a lot of people, they try and then they fail to be perfect, and then they just stop trying. And I think this is the problem with our society in general. We just try to like bury our head in the sand like an ostrich, but it's not gonna solve the global issues we're all facing. And that's the thing, like it's funny you mentioned about let's say the fashion. And I try to be open about these things. I'm not perfect, like I said, but then people are like, but you travel a lot. And it's like, yes, but I don't eat meat, right? So look, we all do what we can. I'm not saying that I will be this perfect environmentalist. I will never travel. I will only bike to places, because it's unrealistic. We live in a modern world. A lot of opportunities we have to do with travel. So, but if you do travel, for example, with myself, I offset everything. As a business owner, and for anybody who's listening and is a business owner, I think we have a huge responsibility as business owners, because we create so much waste. And going back to my personal journey, first I was like, okay, buy less, buy only natural fabrics, try to avoid all single-use plastic, which I do. But I can't do it 100% of the time, because I have a child, let's say, and sometimes she wants a snack and it comes in a package. Sometimes I forget the reusable bottle and she's like, Mommy, I need to drink. And I'm like, I don't want to buy a plastic bottle.
Right.
What if somebody sees me? Like, this is so against me. But it's like, yeah, but I am a human being. Right now, my child wants water. I forgot to bring water. So I will take the responsibility and buy that plastic bottle water.
I respect that. I think that's
right. Like,
yeah.
I am honest. I am not perfect, and I want other people to feel okay with not being perfect, and just try our best to do as much as we can to be mindful, because this mindless consumption is what creates this waste. And closing our eyes when we see all this waste in the parks, on our beaches around the world, it's like this can keep on going. They predict that by 2050 there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. And that really breaks my heart. Can I solve all of it together? I mean, can I solve all of it on my own? Of course not. But all I'm trying to do is reduce my consumption, and then make other people aware of the issue we're facing.
Yeah.
Now, back to our business, we created a journal product, which was the 5-minute journal. That was our first product. Then we created a second product. And then we realized that, the cover is vegan leather, right? Because I personally didn't wear leather for many years. I do now, because I realized the vegan leather is plastic, essentially polyurethane, which is even worse for the environment than animal skin, right? Because eventually animal skin will compost and, biodegrade into nature. So then, as you learn things as a human, the business is a reflection of your personal growth, I believe, or can be. That's the beautiful opportunity. So then, as I became aware of all these things, I was like, Alex, we need to change things in the business. Even though we have a publishing company and you think it's all paper, right? Like, it all is going to go back to nature. Yeah, but is it raw paper? We used to use FSC when we first started, which comes from managed sources. Like, they don't just cut. I mean, again, I have mixed feelings about FSC, but I'm not going to go into details. But I was like, no, we need to do 100% recycled paper. Like, this is just what we have to do. We need to be at the forefront and of this positive change. And Alex is very design savvy. He's the designer who creates all the products and at least created the first two. Now we have a whole team. But he's like, but the paper still needs to look good and feel good. If people don't have the right experience, they're not going to buy it. And that's another tricky part with
form
fashion.
versus substance.
Absolutely.
The trade-off.
Like, it still has to be something people want to buy and experience. It still has to look good. So it took us some time to transition, but we did. Like, right now, all of our products are made of 100% recycled paper. Nobody does that in publishing. And then we looked at other ways of reducing plastic, because, again, you think you have books or journals, but if you look inside, across the industry, all the stitching in all the books is made out of polyester thread.
Oh.
That's tons of plastic. All the bookmarks are made out of polyester.
You mean those like silky things that...
Yes, in all the books, in all the journals. Because when we realized that, we're like, we need to change this. And then we went to factories and we're like, what are our options? They're like, polyester is the only option. I'm like, why? Well, it's because it's the cheapest. We're like, what else can we do? So we pioneered, and now our bookmarks are made out of cotton. And for me, as a business owner, and for my consumers, I want people to feel good when they buy something, knowing that when they're finished with this product, it's going to go back to earth. So paper will go back to earth, cotton eventually will compost, plastic will take thousands of years. And obviously, a lot of books are wrapped in plastic. It's like, why? Of course, they don't want products to get damaged, but we would rather take the risk. If somebody gets a damaged product, we'll send them a new copy.
Wow.
Or, for example, we were working with a retailer, a very big retailer, and they wanted us to wrap our boxes in plastic. And we're like, no, we're not going to do it. And they couldn't believe that. We almost rejected their offer because we're like, this goes against our values. And this was a huge order, like hundreds of thousands. And we said, we can't. And you know what they did? They said, okay, we're going to reassess because it's policies, right? Nobody questions these policies. Why does it need to be wrapped? Well, because it could get damaged. So we said, we're not going to do it, but if you get a damaged box, we'll just replace it. We're willing to take the cost. And they said, okay, right? So this is how you drive change. You have to have clear values, and you have to stand by your values. Otherwise, nothing is ever going to change.
There's a principle that it reminds me of in the Vedic Eastern scriptures. It talks about how if you protect your dharma, if you protect your duty, your dharma will protect you. So, i.e., in this situation, if you are clear about what you want to produce and you're very intentional about it, and you stick by that, then in the future, that will protect you. 100%. That it will come back, like money will come. I think sometimes people look for the quick buck and are willing to compromise on their values. It's the same thing like with the chanting thing, for example, right? When you look at my page, especially someone that's new to chanting, they'll be freaked out. Well, most people will be like, this is weird, like Indian karaoke, like chanting mantra, like what's going on here? But I've maintained that if I just remain authentic to it and I try and present it as openly and as accessibly as I can, then those who are drawn to it will come. And I'm seeing that now. Like, I never dreamed that this, like, the amount of people that are coming through in my community are happening. But I maintain it. If you protect your dharma will protect you. It's like that. And so I think that's the same kind of value that you're holding. I want to change the topic a little bit. Yeah. We are in the knowledge that you have an incredible social media presence. Like, there's tons of people that are engaged with your content, that love your content, all the way from your YouTube channels all the way through to Instagram. I'm always curious because I'm starting to see some growth. It's humble growth, but how do you deal with the naysayers, and how do you deal with people that just don't like what you do? Like, how do you deal with hate? How do you deal with...
I think it's a great question. It's been a journey, of course, because I became, quote unquote, influencer as a byproduct of having a business. Many people set out to be influencers as their intention. Whereas for us, with the first business, Luxy Hair, we had no money. So we come from very humble beginnings, Alex and I. And when we first started our first business with my sister and I and Alex, we had no money to market the products. So we thought, we're going to go on YouTube. This was 2010. And we're going to make all these videos and show the girls how to use these extensions. And we did it in a very subtle way. I would just wear the extensions and I would say, hey, today I'm going to show you how to do these beautiful waves. And by the way, I'm wearing Luxy hair extensions. And then, you know, those who need it, they would buy it. And those who don't, they would do it on their own hair. And it just felt very natural and organic. And the business grew like crazy. In our first year, we did like the first million. And imagine, if you're not coming from money, making your first million in the first year was like flying to the moon, you know? But actually, I got really depressed, but that's a whole different story. We can go into that if you want.
I'd
But
love to.
going back to like how my social media presence grew, then people really resonated with the hair tutorials and they wanted to know more. It's like, do you work out? What do you eat? And where do you guys travel? And how do you travel? So eventually I created a separate channel and that's how my personal brand grew, like the Mimi Ikonn channel. And then when Instagram came out, I actually didn't go on it for years. And then Alex is like, you take so many pictures. Go on Instagram and post them. And I said, I don't like their filters. He's like, well, you don't have to use them. I was like, you're right. So I was like quite late to Instagram, maybe 2-3 years after they launched. And then I just love beautiful images. And now obviously Instagram is so much more about video. I love content creation in general. It makes me happy. It takes a lot of work. It has never been my main focus. So for me, I've always been doing it like on a back burner. If I have the free time and the luxury to create, I do as a way of sharing things that I care about, whether it's mindfulness or talking about self-growth or fashion, because I like fashion and I like showing people how they can put outfits together, or something about travel. But it's never been my main thing. But it's been amazing to see how people, sometimes resonate when you're authentic, I think. If you do things
That's what comes
consistently
across.
and if you're authentic, people can feel it on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, can I be completely dead
Of
honest with you?
course, yeah, I would love to.
When I saw your channel, I was like, she's got great engagement. She's hitting all the major popular topics, sustainability, fashion, etc. Travel, I see a lot of travel. And I was like, wow, okay, so she's definitely an influencer, like rubber stamped influencer on social media. And I was like, I wonder, is she really like this? And just, you know what it is? You know when you're sitting opposite someone, you can kind of tell, like there's just an intuition that tells you that this person is doing it for the likes and this is doing, but you seem like you really are living it. Like it's you're not doing it to get the engagement. You're doing it because this is who you are. This is what you like. And it just seems that the world is interested in that.
Absolutely. And I think that's the secret.
Right.
Right. When people do it for the engagement, they fail.
They fail.
Oftentimes. Or they might win. They might grow because they are very strategic, but they won't be happy because they have to put up this persona, this front. Whereas I'm always changing and people might like it or not like it, but change is the only sure thing in life. Nothing else we can know for sure, but we're all going to change and everything is going to change. And that's all we can all guarantee, right? So for me, it's, again, being honest with my audience. If I don't feel like it, I don't post and I don't create. I would love to create more, but let's say ever since I had my child almost 7 years ago now, I prioritize my relationship with her. I know she's only going to be this age for a certain period of time. And I just kind of stopped posting on YouTube and minimized my even content creation on Instagram. Before I was like 4 content pieces a day. And that's when you grow a lot, right? You have to be consistent. But now I'm just like, whatever, whenever I have time. Because, again, as your life changes, your priorities change.
What does your daughter think of it all? Does she have social media?
No, and she's not getting a smartphone until she's 16.
Wow, 16?
I've already told her, yeah.
Wow.
I'll give her like a basic phone to call me at one point.
Okay.
When she goes on the street alone. We live in London, right? So
yeah, right.
that is going to happen maybe when she's 8 or 10, I don't know. But like, not a smartphone. It will be like a basic old Nokia where you can call and like text.
Oh my God.
That's about it.
We got to do this like in 2 years' time and see if she's actually
no,
gone.
like this is going to happen. I'm
concrete.
like, yeah, 1,000,000%. Like, there's no way.
Does she watch any of the stuff that you're doing on social media? She doesn't have any clue?
I mean, she knows what we do, but she's like, she doesn't really consume social media at all. She doesn't know what TikTok is, right? Like she has seen a little bit of my Instagram. Sometimes, like I'll share her or I'll ask her if I ever post a picture or a video of her. I will always ask for permission.
Oh, wow.
And I explained that like a lot of people will see it. Are you okay with that? And she's like, yeah, mommy, post it. Or sometimes she's like, no, that's just for us. I'm like, great.
Wow.
I love that. And I post, very sparingly because it's like, I think it's a fine line, And when she was younger, I kind of felt actually more comfortable posting about her. But as she's growing, I'm like, no, I want to post less of her.
Right.
So I'm very intuitive even with that. And I think it's a personal decision for every parent.
Well, do you have a vision for how you want, I don't know, what's her name?
Alexa Love.
Alexa Love.
Love is her second name.
Wow,
Yeah.
Alexa Love. Do you have a vision for how she should present herself? And do you have like, in an ideal world, what would you want her to be like on social media? Do you think that she should have it? Do you have an ideal? I know that obviously you're going to probably go back to me and say it's up to her. But we also, as parents, because I'm a parent of two as well, I have a desire for my children, even if it's, I'm not going to force it on them, but I have a desire for how I want them to live their life.
It's a great question. I don't have an intention for her whether she will be on social media or not. I think I definitely see the power that comes with having a voice. Of course, it's like a win and a lose in a way because you put yourself out there, people are going to hate, right? You asked me, like, how do you deal with hate? I never got to that point yet, but I will eventually. It's like you put yourself out there and some people will not like what you're putting out there. But at the end of the day, you will never be able to be liked by everybody. And people are allowed not to like you. And I think ultimately, I don't take it personally because other people's opinion is none of my business. It's just a reflection of their reality, their belief system, and their personal judgments. And I'm okay with that because I'm just here to live my best life and be authentic in the way that I live life. Wow. And again, that's going to change because I'm keep changing. And I'm not in the business of satisfying other people's opinions, right? So for her, I just want her to be unapologetically her and do something that makes her happy. So that's what I always like kind of condition into her because I'm like, Alexa, always do something that makes you happy. Surround yourself with people that make you happy and always connect with your heart because I think this is the part that sometimes we lose in a traditional education system. She's like in a very alternative school.
Okay.
That I'm very
like
happy
a Steiner
about.
School?
I
Steiner
cannot
school,
really
Steiner
mention
school?
because
Okay.
there's not many of them in London, and
Okay,
I don't want to
fine.
for privacy reasons. But
yeah, of course.
we have chosen a very alternative route, and I can see how it's been really positively affecting her critical thinking of how she questions things, but also I guess us as parents as well. But I think it's nice to have that freedom. She gets a lot of freedom in her system that she's part of to make decisions about what she does every day. Incredible. And I think in a traditional system, in a traditional education, you're reading these books and today we're doing this and everybody's doing the same thing and you disconnect from your heart. You forget what makes you happy, what is your purpose. And then once you're out of school, you're like, okay, so what is that makes me happy? And sometimes we go on this journey of 10, 15, 20 years and maybe at some point we discover it. But if you're stuck in this corporate job that is, sucking the soul out of you, and I'm not saying all corporate jobs are bad, by the way. Some are great and people love what they do. But if you don't, and you keep doing it and you wait for Friday night, I mean, what kind of life is that?
Yeah, really sad one.
Right? So I want her to be happy. That's my vision for her.
Wonderful.
And independent, because I think as parents, we succeed as parents, we succeed if our children, by the time they move out, whether they're 16, 18, 19, 20, that they're able to cook for themselves, that they're able to do their own laundry, that they can make decisions for themselves, because I think ultimately we make so many decisions in life, and that they know what they want, not what parents want, not what the teachers want, but what they really want.
Learn how to fly their own planes, so to say. Beautiful. I'm going to do another shift here. Spirituality, religion,
yes,
God. Give me some thoughts. What do they say?
Very controversial topics.
I'm into it.
I love it.
that.
Perfect. So, okay, I grew up in Baku, Azerbaijan, which when I was small, like 0 to 6, was USSR. So communism didn't allow for people to practice religion.
I know nothing about Baku, by the way.
Yeah.
All I know is F1. So you say Baku, I'm
great
already
way to get them popular, right? Yeah, so
USSR.
USSR, communism, they banned religion. And it was fascinating because even though religion was banned, people were practicing it behind scenes. So as a child, I remember seeing all of this kind of first behind scenes. And then once USSR broke down, I was about, I think, around 6. Actually, Azerbaijan went back into Islam because that's their religion. Before that, in Baku, we had huge population of Jewish people, Christian people, Russians lived, because it was more like a melting pot. And then, USSR broke down. A lot of people moved. Like Armenians are Christian as well, so Armenians moved, Russians moved. Obviously, some stayed, but I would say majority fled. And it was interesting because, again, I think when you're raised in a place with many different religions, you see that life is not one way. And it gives you an opportunity to choose again. Nothing wrong with religion if it resonates with your heart. But since I was a kid, I loved the fact that my mom would take me to a church and then she would take me to a mosque. And I saw the variety of these things. And I remember thinking and just not resonating. I just felt, since I was a kid, that we're all one. We're all part of one source. And for me, I felt like religion separates us into these camps. And I don't personally resonate with that separation. I want all of us to be in one camp, one global camp, humanity. And also, I think from an early age, obviously being brought up in that conflict time, you see how religion creates conflict, right? Like, oh, you're Muslim, we're Christian, so we're going to fight you. Because you don't fight your own, even though if we look back into Christianity, the Orthodox fought, non-Orthodox. So you can even create that, or the Sikhs, so there's all these sects within the religion where the opposites will fight each other. And I believe in love. So my religion, if you ask me, is love, universal love and unity. And that's what my message is.
Yeah. I think the essence is so much present there. Like when you look at the essence of all traditions, loving one another, loving a divine presence, that's so much prevalent. But I think that we've basically thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Because you know what the crazy thing is? That religion comes from the root word religio, which means to bind, to reconnect. The etymology means to reconnect, to bind, to create a relationship in essence. With
which is a positive meaning.
Exactly, to love.
Yeah.
When you're bound with someone, it means there has to be some love. And the tragedy is that we've kind of as society, we've seen all the rituals and seen the differences and looked at the details as opposed to the essence. I dress like this, you dress like that. What is the purpose of it? To find a way to love. But because of just focusing on the details so much, it's actually heartbreaking. Like I just see, it's almost like when you look as a neutral bystander, you can see it. You can see they're literally doing the same thing, but just because of minor differences, no, mine is better than yours. Mine is the only way. That kind of really always rubs me up the wrong way when it's the only way.
Yeah.
Interesting. Spirituality, is that something, I know you mentioned you would say you're a person who's aiming for love and unity with humanity. And I mean, do you have a belief in a higher power or?
Absolutely. I believe there's definitely a higher power that's running the show, but also we are the manifestation of that. Like I believe we're all gods and goddesses embodied, right? And that's why everything, I believe in karma as well. Like everything we do to other comes back because it's like you're doing to yourself. And I think if you really look into somebody's eyes, like we're now looking at each other, you can see your own reflection, right? Like since I was a kid, I remember if you really look at the other person's eyes,
I can see myself.
Right? You can see your own reflection. And I think there you go. It's like we don't have to go far. This is the answer. So treat others how you would want to be treated because it's all going to come back. And so I resonate with spirituality. I believe in a higher power. Again, doesn't matter what you call it, God, Krishna, anything. If it makes you feel good, do it.
I'm totally.
But do it in a way that doesn't harm or hurt others. And also don't try to make others believe in what you believe. Like my belief is my belief. It's my journey. I'm not saying it's right, but it's authentic to me.
Yeah.
And I think that if that will be the goal for everybody, the world will be a much more peaceful place, rather than saying, now you have to be my religion, now you have to
Right.
do things the way I do, cover your head or do the, no.
Right.
Like, I don't believe in that. I believe, we all have different
I mean,
journeys.
it's the reason why I don't dress in robes and I grow a beard, even though in the Vedic tradition you're meant to shave up and shave your hair and everything. But it's the reason why I'm kind of like, well, I'm not trying to. I even make the joke sometimes when we chant Hare Krishna, the mantra. I sometimes make the joke. I'm like, okay, one of my guys, Kaylee, he's going to be standing at the door with buzzers in one hand and robes in the other. And at the end of the mantra, he's going to shave you up, put you in robes and send you out on the streets to chant. And everyone just like laughs because I'm like, I'm joking. I'm not going to do that. You know, I think that the essence should be that this is my practice. I'm sharing it with you. Just like, you know, if you have your gratitude journal, I'm sharing it with you. It's not that everyone in the world is going to do it. But no, it's authentic to me. I like it. I find that it brings me connection. Here it is. It's a tool. Use it as you like. You know, feel that you're welcomed into, as opposed to, no, the closed doors are only for those who are in this body, Indian body skin, or, you know, that know how to write in English, or, you know, whatever. Rather than closing off, I think that if we're going to talk about love of humanity, we need to be accessible and relevant. And it means that, you know, breaking down the walls of rituals and breaking those down and just focusing on the essence. I think that that's really what people are looking for.
That's so beautiful. Totally resonate with that.
Yeah? Beautiful. I want to talk about the journal in particular.
Yeah.
And maybe you can share with us some of the exercises or an exercise that someone could try at home.
Absolutely. So 5-Minute Journal has been our bestseller. We launched it in 2013, and it has sold almost 2 million copies. And like I said,
2 million copies.
Almost 2 million copies. So like I said before, when we launched it, we had no big plans or vision for this, but the practice came as a solution to our personal journey. Earlier, I mentioned that when we started Luxy Hair, we made our first million. Everything sounded perfect. Alex and I just got married, and we could travel the world. I could buy anything I wanted, and I became really, really depressed and anxious, and I had panic attacks to the point that I couldn't even fly anymore.
Do you know the root cause of that? Why that happened?
Well, I didn't at the time. I was super scared, and I was like, what is going on? And I'm 23 and a half, 24, something like that. Like, my life is perfect on paper. Why am I so miserable? And then obviously did a lot of research, soul searching, read tons of books, and also did Vipassana, which really, really helped me, I would say, save my life. But also one of the books I read called The Body Keeps the Score, I highly recommend it. It's a book on trauma. And it talks about how our body stores all the trauma that we receive, I mean, any time of our life, but mostly like in our childhood. Because a lot of things that happen to us, 0 to 7, we don't remember. But it's all stored. The body remembers. It keeps the score. And usually the body won't release the trauma until it feels safe.
Wow.
So when I got married and I felt for the first time probably in my life safe with my partner, I started releasing the trauma that needed to be released for me to go to the next step of awareness and consciousness, or whoever I am evolving to be. And it had to happen. And at the time, it was very scary. So for anybody listening who's going through a dark time, this is just a transition to a better time. It is actually what you make of it. You can dwell on it for years, and that can become your story, but you get to write your own story. So for me, I was like, okay, something big is happening, and I know I'm going to come on the other side, and then I can help others. So what I've discovered in that process is also like the belief systems had to shift. And I think around that age as well, I think 25 is like, I think your brain stops growing at 20. They used to say 25, now I say 28. But it's like I could feel that lots of things are like shifting in my brain. And also obviously making the money and realizing that doesn't make you happy. I was like, okay, well, then what makes me happy? And doing Vipassana, which for anybody listening who doesn't know, it's like a 10-day silent meditation retreat. Again, it's not a religion. Anybody can join. It's for free. If you complete it, you can donate money. If you don't, they won't take even a penny from you. The first time I went, I ran away on day 4, by the way, because I didn't realize meditation is like super tough. And then I went back and I completed it. And I always tell the story, like on day 7, I had this crazy panic attack. And I remember going to my teacher. So you can't talk to anyone, you can't write, you can't read. All you do is meditate all day, every day. But you can only talk to your teacher. So I had this panic attack and I thought I was dying. So I go to my teacher and I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, I'm so scared. And he's like, well, if you do, we'll call 911. This is back in Toronto. I was living in Toronto at the time. He's like, Mimi, you cannot run away from yourself. It's a panic attack, most likely. Like, now go back into meditation and sit through it and watch it. Any emotional reaction is like a storm. Like, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And oftentimes we create suffering by attaching meaning to our pain or to our suffering. For example, if you have a panic attack, you might think, I am dying. Like, I'm going to die, or this is a heart attack. Or if we have a stomach pain, we might think it's an ulcer or it's a cancer, right? Like, the mind goes crazy, and that's kind of what meditation can help.
That it attaches meaning.
Because the mind is really good at doing that. It's the monkey mind that runs the show for most of us, right? And meditation can help you to calm the monkey mind so you can get to the core, which is the awareness that's observing the mind. Because we're not the mind. We're just the awareness that is observing the mind. Like, think about that for a moment, right? For a lot of us, it's going to be like, wait a moment, but how? Yes, exactly. Sit with that, right? Because a lot of us, most of us, we identify with the mind. We think we are the thoughts that we think, but we're not. The thoughts are just collections of things we've picked up, conditioning from parents, from society, from culture. So, yeah, like going back to that practice, like it really helped me kind of get out of the dark hole. And then we also discovered Tony Robbins. And through Tony Robbins, I don't know if you know him, right? So through him, we discovered the power of gratitude. And he had this experience where he talks like the power hour that he recommends everybody to do every day, and like go out and talk about all these things you're grateful for, but it's like 1 hour. And we used to do it actually for a short period of time. And I would say we manifested most things that we used to say in that walk, which is crazy. Like, this is before, or maybe just when we started the business, and we would say things like, I have a multi-million-dollar business and I can travel the world and I have all these entrepreneur friends. Meanwhile, we were broke, living with Alex's mom, didn't have a business yet, or were just starting to create it, and didn't travel because we didn't have money, didn't have any friends who had businesses. So now my reality is way beyond that, right? Like, but it took time. But gratitude was such an important part of that experience, because part of manifestation, or you can call it co-creation, is being grateful for what you want to create that is not yet in your current existence. So being grateful for it as if it has already happened in the present tense. Because if you say, this will happen to me, it's like you're always attaining something that is not. It's like you're lacking something.
Yeah.
You have to embody it here and now for it to actually come into your presence and into your reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So this is what gratitude does.
I need to unpack that more, but yeah, it makes, on the surface, it makes sense.
Right? You're coming from an abundance rather than lack. Because a lot of people, they want and desire things. When you want and desire things, you make it seem like you don't yet have it. So that's lack. You must get to a place where you feel like you already have it. You're whole. It's done. For example, one thing now, like we're trying to like manifest this perfect flat, like the way we want it, with this many bedrooms facing the garden. And this morning I was like, it's done. Like it's already, and it is done. I mean, the flat exists. We just need to find it, right? Like, so these are just some examples. Then it was the lifestyle and the business and the money. And then when we met UJ eventually, our previous co-founder, and he wanted to create a business, and he was really into meditation and journaling, but like his practice was 2 hours. He was single and not really working at the time. We're like, most people don't have 2 hours a day to do all these things. So we're like, how can we put our practice and your practice together into this simple practice that anybody can use for 5 minutes a day? And that's how 5 Minute Journal was created. And basically, if you go on our website, intelligentchange.com, you can see the inside of the journal. And you don't need to buy the journal.
Wow.
You can either also download our app. We have a free version that anybody can use for free. Or also to see the structure. Or you can just journal in a blank notebook, right? So if you cannot afford the journal, you have no excuses not to use this incredible tool that can help you feel good, because now it's proven that when you focus on good things in your life, you feel good. Naturally, your heart rate stabilizes, and then your whole reality changes. There's this thing like in our brain, the reticular activating system that is responsible for focusing on things. And it's been proven that like if we focus on let's say you bought a red car, 100%, as soon as you buy a red car, all you're going to see is other red cars, right? Because that's your focus. So if you focus on gratitude, all you're going to focus on in your day is other good things that you could be grateful for. And the opposite of that is focusing on all the wrong things, right? Like people who watch the news, hear all these bad things that happen in the world, and they think everybody's bad and everything is bad and we're doomed.
Become cynical.
But that's part of reality. They never show good news on news, by the way, right? Like because that doesn't sell the news or newspapers, or people are addicted to adrenaline, and that usually comes with those negative news. That's why they share 99.9 negativity, right? So do you want that in your life? You got to question. If you're okay with it, sure, keep watching the news, right? But if you want to have peaceful, harmonious, joyful life, create practices that bring you joy and do them. And it's okay if you fall out of the habit, because you can always start over again. So the first thing that you do in the morning, and I always recommend for people to do it like as soon as they wake up, because that's when you're still very close to your subconscious mind, is just think of 3 things you're grateful for. And it could be anything as simple as my bed. Like I have a nice bed with a warm blanket and a pillow, and, you know, I have a window in my room. Like it could literally be anything. But I challenge everybody listening or watching to think of different things every day. Because again, the mind can get into this routine of writing the same thing, and then
Robotic.
it becomes this practice that doesn't make significance anymore, because you're just writing the same things, which is still better than nothing. But at least some of it should be something new. And I do this with my daughter every day since she could speak. So we do it. We do the evening portion together. Sometimes she just writes the morning portion. And, you know, I just say, like, what is one good thing that happened today? Because the end of the day, so the morning portion is like what I'm grateful for, 3 things, and like 3 amazing things that will happen today. So again, setting intentions for the day. And then there's affirmations, like I am statements. And then the end of the day is like 3 good things that happen, or 3 great things that happened today.
Reflection.
And that, again, looking at the good, because oftentimes when we'll look back at our day, we'll share to our partner or friends like, oh, this thing happened and this went wrong. But like, what are good moments that you had in your day? Maybe a little, it could be something tiny, like you shared a smile with a stranger, or you ate a really delicious meal. Because oftentimes we take these things for granted. But again, the moment you start practicing it, the next day your brain is looking for all and focusing on all these good things that happen, because it knows that you're going to write it down.
Yeah.
So it completely shifts your reality to really see the difference. I think like do it for a month, and after a month you will be a different person.
Test it and see.
Yeah, because everywhere you look, you'll feel gratitude. It's not enough to philosophically understand this concept of like gratitude, because it's not something to understand. It's something to embody. It's something to practice, and it's something to feel in your heart deeply. So again, check out the app or go on the website and look at the structure. You can get the journal, of course.
I'm checking it out today. Today's the day.
Yeah.
Kaylee's checking it out right now. He's on his laptop right now checking it out.
But it's so easy and it's so simple. And it's called the 5-minute journal because it only takes 5 minutes a day, 2.5 in the morning, 2.5 in the evening. So you have 0 excuses not to do it, because we'll all have 5 minutes a day.
Do me a favor. If you're listening to this and you're doing it right now, I want you in the comment section to write down either the morning or the evening part of maybe just one thing that really struck you from your day. Or let's go with that. Let's see. Just drop me some comments in down below that just kind of flesh out what you actually did. Whether you did it, what was your experience of it? Okay, I'm holding you to it. I'm watching you right now. Let's do it. Should we do some quick fire round?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, these are going to be interesting. What's something you're curious about right now? 1 word, 1 sentence.
Freedom. Yeah, because freedom is my top value. And I'm researching how I can embody more of that.
Wow.
Because I realize that even though it is my top value and I'm highly conscious of being free in the way I do things and being authentic, I still think that there's parts of me that I haven't imprisoned. And I'm kind of shining the light on those parts and doing my best to release them from the captivation.
Something that I actually am also very curious about right now because, like I mentioned, I genuinely believe that the real wealthy of today is freedom. And I want to encourage everyone that's listening to also do that as an exercise to explore what does freedom mean to you. Because I think that can be really quite profound. Question number 2, what's something you're personally working through at the moment?
Working through. Again, I would have to say it's about, now that my daughter is almost 7, I feel like I'm going through a transition. Because for me, I've been very conscious about the way I spent my time. For me, 0 to 7 for a child is like the most important time of their upbringing. It's when the subconscious mind gets written. Everything we say to our child, 0 to 7, or anybody says, it could be nanny, it could be teachers, it could be anybody in the family, whoever is spending the most time with them, like that becomes their inner self-talk and the belief systems. So I've been extremely conscious about being present and like dedicating most of my time. I mean, I never stopped working, not when I was pregnant, not when I had her. But of course, she took priority because I was like 0 to 7, I need to do this right. And of course, I'm sure it's not perfect, but I needed to do my best because I had to deal with a lot of trauma that happened in that period. And it took me ages, and still there's work to do, all the fears or the limiting beliefs. And I just didn't want to pass my shit on to her, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll do my best to like, first work on myself. And that's why Alex and I think we were married for like 6 years before we decided to get pregnant, because I needed to do the inner work before I brought a human being into this life. I don't want to pass on the same negative cycles over and over again. And it's like, it's got to stop. So now that she's almost 7, she'll be 7 in October, I feel like this something inside of me is like, okay, it's my time to shine. So I definitely need to do more things that make me happy and release my inner child, because I've been so responsible and so like, again, captivated myself into this motherhood and like entrepreneur and being a good wife. And it's like, now I just want to be Mimi and like rediscover what that means. And it feels really great. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's interesting because actually in the postgraduate study of Bhakti Yoga, there's one verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about how one of the greatest tragedies is to pass on your attachments or like your negative attachments onto your offspring. And I really had to sit with that for a long time because now having 2 children, I'm, see, like it's exactly what you said. I'm not a perfect father. I do things that are sometimes ludicrous, like with my children. Like, even just hearing
We're all
you speak,
human.
Yeah. And I mean, but just hearing what you spoke, I had to just reaffirm with myself that today when my son comes home from daycare, I'm going to try and affirm some positive things with him.
How old is he?
He's 2.5. He's just turning 3 in August.
Perfect. Still very young.
Yeah.
And your other child?
Oh, 5 months.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So this is the time.
This is the time. I'm trying to be really
Everything we
conscious.
say to them becomes their belief system.
I know. I'm seeing it.
Right? Like,
seeing
it's
it.
crazy. And now I see her returning it back to me, right? Like, it's unbelievable.
Full cycle.
Because you think you say these things and they forget. No.
Nope.
Like, now she's like, Mommy, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. She's like, I didn't like your tone of voice. And I'm like, okay. But it's because when she says something, I'm like, listen, I understand you're frustrated, but like you can use a gentle tone of voice. Like, I'm your friend, I'm here to help you. So then she returns it back, right? So, but it's ultimately, we can communicate in a way that is loving and kind. And if we ever are losing it, just leave the room.
Yeah.
Right? Like, be like, I need a moment. And you know what? We are teaching them by doing. So next time when they're not able to handle their emotions, they're going to be like, Daddy, I need a moment. And it's going to be the cutest thing ever, right? But it's, again, having that awareness to catch yourself in the moment. And sometimes we'll fail, and that is okay. Because life is not about perfection.
Progress.
Yes.
Number 3. In short, This is going to be, I know it's going to be a hard one to keep short. In short, what legacy would you like to leave behind in the world?
Love. For people to understand that ultimately we all come from love. We're here to love, and we're here to spread love. So
Amen.
That's my message.
Me and you both. Something you used to deeply value, but don't value as much anymore.
That is interesting. I guess maybe productivity in a way. Yeah, like I'm quite a hustler by nature. I'm very ambitious. And I think it's easy for me to say, obviously, once you achieve things, you can say, well, you don't need to work so hard and you don't need to do so much. But also, I wouldn't be here if I didn't do all these things. So it's really tricky. But I think on my transition, right now, I don't value it as much as connections, right? Like before, I used to prioritize work and would hardly ever have time for friends and building a community. Now I'm in a phase where I'm building a community.
That's
so I'm
exactly
prioritizing that over working. And yeah, I can make more money and have more opportunities, but like I'd rather have more friends and more meaningful relationships. So yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. I mean, I totally am on the same path as you in that regard.
Maybe it's an age thing as well, right?
Maybe.
Like as you go through life, like you
It's less about projects, more about people. Once, this wonderful person, his name is Radhanath Swami, he was sitting with like a group of like maybe 10, 15 people, and there were people lining up to meet him. And one of the monks that was there asked him, how is it possible that you're able to give so much time and energy without getting burnt out and compassion fatigue? It's a very valid question. Like I get that all the time. Like after a retreat, I need a day to myself because I've given so much. I'm about to go on a retreat and I know that I'm going to really give my heart. I'm going to put everything on the table to give my best, but then I need a day. But people like Radhanath Swami, it's unbelievable. They can just keep doing it like day on day, like travel the world and give. And he said this powerful sentence that stays with me. He said, with projects, I give my mind, but with people, I give my heart. And I have to just always embody that. Like I have to just always realign myself with that because I've got tons of different things that are like sprayed out, a podcast and then events and retreats and courses and filming, all these things are happening. So yeah, I'm trying to use my mind for those things, but with people, I don't want to use my mind. I want to use my heart. You know, I want to try and connect with that person authentically. This is the reason why I think that these podcasts are working because I'm not trying to intellectualize the conversation and I've got my notes in front of me, but I'm just trying to feel what's coming through the person opposite me.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's really important. With relationships, let's not go with our minds. Let's go with some softness of the heart. Even though I know that softness of the heart is something that people don't so much use because it's been broken. Trust is broken so often. You know, people can misuse and, you know, abuse relationships. But let's try and invest more time in using our hearts in relationships. And I think that that's it's something I value a lot more. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you.
I love
From
that.
a personal perspective.
Thank you for sharing it as well.
Last one. You ready for it?
Yes.
If you could create one law that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
I would ban plastic.
Ban plastic?
Well, not medical. Some of it is needed.
Wow.
And of course, some for, you know, airplanes or these things. But all single-use plastic would be banned tomorrow.
Mimi, I'm voting for you for Prime Minister. Let's do it.
Vote for Mimi.
That's the campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
really
for having me.
I really value your time. And what's come across in this convo is your authenticity. I think that, like, it felt either you were really well rehearsed and you've done this a lot, so you
not at all, actually.
Right. So that I felt after some time I was like, no, I don't think this is rehearsed. I think this is quite an authentic convo. And I've also learned quite a lot from you. I feel like I could sit here for another hour and just really absorb, because I think the entrepreneurial spirit is one thing, but being a conscious entrepreneur, being a change maker at the same time as trying to obviously run business and whatnot, I think that's really profound, and it's something I want to learn a lot more from you if you allow me to. But
absolutely,
deeply appreciate your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Radhika.
It's an honor. Each and every one of you, thank you for joining us. I hope you found this conversation as interesting as I did. I hope that there was something that you want to rewind, replay, make notes on. Try the journal. Tell me what your thoughts are with it. If you have any comments, any feedback, any questions, pop them in the comment section. I'll try and get them over to Mimi and she'll answer them for you. But otherwise, I'll see you on the next episode of For Soul's Sake. Loving you all, sending you all lots of love and lots of spiritual strength. Namaste, Haribol.